Welcome to Tuesday Talks with Darleen, and my special guest is Julie Gibbons. I'm so
That's
excited.
okay.
I can't get the name out.
That's okay.
This is what I love. I get so excited about talking to people that I just talk fast. Now, Julie Gibbons, her beautiful business name is called Brandiwork, and she's actually a visual translator, a conduit, an extractor, and a distiller of ideas. I love that. She's part intuitive, part geeky tech with a ton of design. She's on a mission to build women in business through helping them reach their exact right audience through excellence in branding with her business. Now, I'm excited to talk about Julie because I have actually talked to Julie about branding in the past, and you actually get people, and you just, like some of the stuff that you told me, I just went, oh my goodness. And like, I mean, I know a lot about branding and creativity and everything, but it was so cool to talk to you. So I'd love to know just a little bit more about you, how you got into it, and then, let's chat.
God. I kind of always dread this kind of question. How did you get into doing what you do? Because it is such a long and convoluted story. I'm one of those people. I'm really multi-passionate person. You know, that a multi-potentialite was a term that I came across a while ago, and so I'm into lots of stuff. And I've been a high school teacher. I've done so many things in my life. I've got to see. So, but I feel like now that I'm at this stage in my life, all of the things that I've done in all of my life have kind of come to coalesce into what I'm doing now. So there's teaching and there's business and there's creativity and there's all sorts of things that come into it. And my strongest suit is like design. So I've always had that thread through my life that for me it's like it's pursuit of beauty, and I see that there's beautiful things in all sorts of ways and all sorts of areas. I don't see that there's limited to any particular style, or I can appreciate the work and the thread of thought that goes into something, whether it's Banksy's like graffiti style stuff, or whether it's something like Michelangelo, like whatever.
Yep.
I appreciate it all. So how did I get here? I did jewelry and silversmithing at uni many years ago. Went on and did a PhD, and I just then when I finished the PhD, I went and ended up having 3 babies. They're teenagers. They're grown up now, and so while I was having these little kids at home, I got into Etsy and started sewing things and making things to sell. And I thought, oh, look, I've got this PhD. I know all there is to know about design. I know how to present stuff. I know how to make it look good. I'll just chuck some stuff up and see. Yeah, it'll sell. No, of course it didn't, because I had no clue. Like I was clueless. So, but then I was getting into the forums and I got better at seeing what other people did and how they kind of put things together. And yeah, that, all the visual stuff I picked up pretty quick. So I thought, oh, so then I got into helping other people, and I was on the forums all the time, helping other people say, oh, you should do this and present it like this, and the fix up the lighting, or whatever it was. And I felt like so much of the advice that I was giving them, that I thought, oh, well, maybe I should kind of get into branding and that whole presentation thing. So I kind of started off doing that. I did a couple of free sessions and then just kind of fell into it. And I started also writing about contemporary craft because, as I said, I started off doing jewelry and silversmithing. So I started writing about contemporary craft on a blog as well. So it all kind of came together.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
and it's grown.
And I love that word, multi-potentialite, and that's me.
Yeah.
Like 5 years ago, I can't remember who she is, but there was actually, I don't know whether she's Canadian or American, but she sort of came up with that, and I just went,
Yeah.
that's me. I can't like narrow down. So, I kind of have, but I've still got all of this other stuff out there that, I can bring in if I need.
And it was actually Karen Gunting. I don't know whether you know Karen Gunting, do you?
Name sounds familiar.
Yeah, she is a Canadian, not related to the lady who came up with multi-potentialite, who is also Canadian, I think, but yeah, I can't remember her name either.
Yeah.
Anyway, Karen Gunton lives in Australia. She spoke at a conference I went to a few years ago, and I was struggling with this thing, like the whole, I am all over the place. I don't really know what direction I'm going. And she just asked a whole bunch of questions about trying to come up with, like, what is your life mission or what is your life purpose? But she's a brilliant speaker, and the way she came around those questions, which is obviously we've all asked them ourselves of ourselves before, but the way she phrased it just was a brilliant trigger to make me stop and think, what is it that ties all my stuff together? You know, I've always been really great at maths. I actually started doing a maths degree as well. Like I said, I'm all over the place. And lots of art related things, obviously. There's, you know, in all sorts of fields. I've always been a maker, you know, always, you know, picked up needle and thread when I was a kid, knitting, crochet, all those sorts of things, but always making stuff, paper, whatever it was, painting, all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
And it was, for me, I just thought it came to me that the thing that ties all of it together is that pursuit of beauty. And as I said, like that could be in any form, and appreciate it wherever it is. It could be, I mean, nature is really beautiful. And it's kind of amazing, and it's not, there's obviously very beautiful things like your roses, or, you know, your flowers and stuff, which I love flowers. But there's also, it's cruel, but there's something really beautiful about that cruelty as well. Like, you know, there's something intriguing and engaging and wonderful about that as well. This is the way it is. Yeah. Yeah. So it's really,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, and it's interesting you actually talk about that, you know, you've got the beauty in the rose, but you've also got that little bit of cruelness, you know, the thorns. I never really saw it like that. There's like sort of two faces to it. And I suppose actually I've just had an awareness. Like, because as you know, I live with mental illness, and I freely admit that. And I realised just now talking to you, there's actually been a little bit of cruelness to do with my business, because the mental illness has actually affected me and how I ran my business. Until I really embraced every part of me, then the rose came out.
Yeah, I think that's like, you can't just always concentrate on the pretty stuff. Like that's only half it really is only half the story.
Yeah, and
there's no light without dark.
Well, exactly. And it's the same thing with creativity. It's like, creating the branding and everything. Well, you've got to go through all of that phase first of, getting all the information and then coming up with something. We've got to go through that. And sometimes getting that information, you're just like, oh, not another question.
The thing with branding, that's kind of that's a really interesting question. It's not so much about, that's like, I'm endlessly intrigued by people. So people are always fascinating. Like, every person's really different. So it's just like talking to them, you can extract, and I'm as you know, like, visuals my thing. So I'm always watching them. That sounds probably a bit creepy, but I'm always watching. I'm always kind of, it's all going in. It's all interpreting. This is, I'll watch you. I can catch your personal style. I can catch what's going on in your head. I can catch how you phrase things, how you present yourself. What, like, it was even right from when I was a teenager, like, I got into music, as most teenagers do. And I was kind of, every time I'd meet a new teenager friend, I'd go, oh, you like such and such music. I could just guess what genre of music. Like, for me, there was an aesthetic about people and what I think they're drawn to. Like, I could easily slot people into different areas. And that's what my job is in branding. I feel like, you know, I'm always watching, and it all feeds in. And my job is just to translate that. You know, it's all about you. It's all about, and it's kind of fun for me because I like aesthetics. For me, it's like aesthetics is aesthetics. It's not a separation for me. Like people go, oh, that's painting and that's cooking and that over there is, you know, dance. Like, no, like we can interchange a lot of that stuff. We can always meld. We can like when you're cooking, you describe things like that is nice and light and fluffy, and you can actually, they're the same words we use when we're describing a painting. You know, there's like they're, you know, they're interchangeable. So if I say, you know, if someone wants to project their brand as feeling balanced and harmonious, they're aesthetic words that I can easily pick images or colors to go with. It's not that, you know, it's not rocket science for me. It's just like, it's really actually quite logical for me. And that's why I see that branding is never just about looking pretty. Like, you know, it's not about looking pretty. That's great if, you know, and important, but it really needs to come from like a core of who you are. It's a projection of who you are.
Yeah, and I love, like, there's just so much I want to. This conversation can go 20 different places because I'm like that. But something that you've just said, because I love learning, so I'm doing a business program, and in there she shared a video about branding, and the guy was kind of all right. He's like, oh yeah, you know, it's more than, you know, colors and fonts. You know, you got to bring a bit of personality in it. But as you said, it's even deeper than that. It's much deeper than that. Like, my branding, I want people to understand my values. So if they look at my branding and everything I do, then they can understand what my values are, which helps to attract potential clients.
Yeah, that is part of it. It's very much about what you want to project yourself as, and honesty is really important in your branding. And if you keep on trying to, you know, I'm so not, I mean, I used to wear makeup and high heels all the time, but I don't now. Like, this is me, and I just don't do that stuff anymore. So like, if I put on a heap of makeup and had the corporate headshots and projected myself as that would be such hard work for me to keep that up. That's a false pretense. And I think on some kind of energetic level, as humans, we can still read that. I can see straight through that. And so, like, it's not only is it really hard work to keep that up, that appearance, that pretend appearance, it's actually not doing you any favors because a lot of people can just see straight through it anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's interesting you said that, because actually that's actually both my personalities. Like, I love getting dressed up, so I've got some of those shots. But then I actually share the other side of me where there is no makeup, there's no hair done. I'm actually in the water, walking in the water. Like, I share that because that's all of me. I don't just share those, like, those branded things. That's not, and that's how important it is to show up authentically. That's why I talk about, you know, having mental illness and running a business and how it can actually work. And that's what, you know, I love about the branding, because it's showing me, and that's branding as well.
Yeah. And one of the key things with branding is it's also that whole idea that they're just like, you know, you're human. So you will attract the right people to you anyway. Like, we all have, you know, particular friends and they like us because we're us.
Yes.
And that's the same, exactly the same with branding. So don't be afraid to show up as yourself, because when you do, you'll attract the right people to you.
Yeah.
And they'll love you for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, kind of project what you can offer them. This is also like that. Yes, you're projecting your core self, but you're also projecting how you help people get where they want to go. So, like, if you are any kind of healer or yeah, like just a healer. Like,
Mm.
so you're helping people feel whole, or you're helping them feel balanced, or helping them feel joyous, like whatever it is that they're aspiring to, that needs to come into your branding as well.
Yes,
Mm,
exactly. Yeah, like
mm.
everything you're saying is just like I just want to go yes, yes. I need like the little
Yeah, yeah,
pom-poms or something to go yes.
yeah.
Because it's so true. And as you said, sharing all of you in the authentic way, that is so true. Because when I get on a call with potential clients, and also if I want to work with someone else, that comes through. So I may not actually be on like a video call, but I can pick all of that up. That comes through so much, and that's what matters. And we know we're in the right business when we actually are excited to get on a call or excited to work with someone. Whereas in the past, because being a multi-potentialite, I've done a lot, and some of it, of course, hasn't worked. And I've, been ready to get on a call going, oh, crumbs. And it's, that's what comes through. And it's really exciting when you find that, and that comes through in your brain. When you're doing the right thing, they will come through in your brain. And that's why it's important having someone to work with someone like you, because you'll also help to bring that out.
Isn't it so much more fun
Oh,
and
yes.
so much more in it makes you spark up yourself.
Mm,
Like when you enjoy what you do,
mm-hmm,
it brings out your best work.
yes.
It really brings out your
Mm,
best work.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you can see that in an artwork. When people make something they've just gone, wow, this is so exciting. You can actually see that in their work.
Yep. Yeah. And that's what I love about my paintings, because they're intuitive.
Yeah, yeah,
Like I'll have 10 different people look at my paintings and they go, I can see an animal, I can see a human, I can see this, I can see that. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's like just
yeah.
standing back, watching people look at stuff. And it's like your branding, you want people to look at your branding and do that as well.
Yeah, engage. You want them to
Mm,
engage.
yeah.
Yeah. And the right people will when you project who you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Mm.
it's so important, isn't it? Yeah. And getting back to or this is where I can go into different conversations with this. Like I love it. And before you were talking about creativity, different forms of creativity, and I totally agree, because creativity is whatever brings you joy. It is not
Mm.
traditionally art. Yeah, that's creative, but whatever brings you joy. So your branding, that is creativity, because not only are you not withdrawing, but you're getting that stuff out of me to create the brand. You're doing all of that beautiful stuff as well behind the scenes. That's creativity.
Yeah, like it's just yeah, design.
Mm,
But even beyond that, like
mm,
this is actually another point. Creativity can come in many different forms. And my partner is a scientist,
mm,
and I remember years ago we had this group. One of my art friends said, "I'm going to form this group called the Creative People of the Riverina,"
mm,
and it was like mostly artists. And then
mm,
Phil goes, "Why can't I come?" And she goes, "Oh, you're a scientist." Just why is that not creative? Like I've
mm,
got to think up the experiments and think
mm,
up the methodology,
mm,
and that's still creative. Like
mhm,
it's still very, very creative. It's just like we have different ways of approaching
mhm,
things. Whereas from the art side of point of view,
mm,
there's like where there's it's more amorphous and more intuitive
mm,
and coming at it from lots of different directions, whereas the scientific thing is much more methodical.
mm,
But, like if you've got a maths problem, you can come at that from so many different
mm.
ways and still come up with the same
Mhm.
answer. There's always,
Yeah.
I mean, that horrible expression, there's more than one way to skin a cat. It was just popped into my head. Like it's
Yeah.
awful. Why did I even think of that? But you know what I mean? Like
Mm,
there's always multiple ways of coming at something
mm.
and getting the same result.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, totally. And I love how you talk
And
about
yeah, the
yeah.
humans are inherently
Mm,
creative, and yeah, I don't see that
mm,
one weigh it like one, you know, the scientific, the logical side of things is any less or any more than the creative, like not the creative, the artistic side of things.
Yeah, I totally agree, because just thinking about that, it's like, you're right, you know, the scientists, they have to be creative. Like, yes, they've got beautiful knowledge, but they still have to put all that knowledge together to create the experiments, to find out what's actually, you know, whatever field they're in, to find
They've got to
answers.
think of the questions, the questions out there, and they've got to kind of pull them out of the ether and go, oh, that's an interesting question, because there's there's unlimited questions, like there's infinite questions to ask, and some are worthy of more investigation immediately than others. So yeah, there's a decision making there as well. And I see, like, you know, even if I'm making a website, which is real, actually, what I really love about that is, you know, being able to work with machine logic and tricking machines into doing what I want. I see that's really creative. Like, how can I get that machine to do that thing? Because I know the way that it's not going to work. So how else can I do that? So that's really creative as well.
Yeah, it totally is. Totally. And I would love, like, I could chat to you forever. Like, I really could. It's one of those, like, everyone I'm talking to was like, I could chat forever, but because we're talking about creativity and that, of course, longer. But I would love for, like, people that are watching that might be maybe new to business or rebranding, what is one thing that they can do in their own place that will then start that branding process? So then they can go, okay, I want to actually have a call with Julie so we can start this.
Okay, so it depends on where you are in your business journey. So, like, probably what you've described with people who are in startup. And to start off with, there is definitely, don't spend lots of money on fancy branding. When you start up, it's about really about finding out how you want to work and who you want to work with, really. Because, you know, you might go, like, I mean, a friend of mine who wanted to start working with horses, doing Bowen therapy, and because she loves horses, and she wanted to, and she got further down the track, and then she goes, actually, now that I'm, you know, getting clients, I actually don't enjoy the client process. And she's gone off to do something else. This is the thing about early business. Like, so many people, they start off doing one thing, they work with that for a while and go, no, that's not for me. I have another client who started working with people who were blended families, and she said, she said it ended up because there was so much going on for blended families, like, you know, the how do you handle the kids, and how do you handle the relationships, all of that stuff, and the other parents outside that, and, you know, all the in-laws, and how does that all work? And it's like, there's some people, the people that think that they need guidance, a lot of them don't. They've kind of they're open-minded enough to actually do it themselves, and they're fine. And then there's other people who want to just blame everybody for why their relationship's not working. She said it was awful. So she just said, like, you know, as much as she could help, then there's, like, unless people actually want to take the action and do it. She only did that for a short time and said, no, that's just pointless, because there's people don't want to be helped. They just want somebody to fix them.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you get that in lots of fields too. People just want you to fix them.
Oh, yeah. When I was working in the healthcare field, totally. Like 70%. Yeah. Yeah. And you're so right about startup is when you're starting a business, as you said, don't create a brand. Have maybe just the colours and the fonts, you know.
Yes. Sorry, that was back to the question.
But, like,
I was getting sidetracked.
Like, three colours.
Pick some colours. Pick 3 colors and 2 fonts, possibly only one. And just go for it. Make yourself a word mark. Don't think you have to have the logo, because the logo is not the brand, right? It's never the brand. The logo is like the cherry on top of the ice cream. It's like it should be like after all the process of proper branding has gone through, that's what you come out with at the very end. Most people in fact, everybody in startup. If you're in startup, you can just start with a word mark, which is your name in a particular font or combination of fonts, and color. And don't think it's like a less than option, because it's actually used by lots of really famous businesses. Still, Tiffany & Co. It's just a serif font on that eggshell blue background. That's it. That's Tiffany & Co. There's so many of them. There's so many of them. There's Jeep, and there's I can't never remember them all. But there's a ton of really big businesses that just have a word mark. That's all they ever use.
Yeah, and that's so true. And also, you know, like even when you do become a savage, like I've got single boss lady. Well, when you know, next year I'm actually going to rebrand into my name. So even though, you know, you're starting business, don't think that that's actually going to stay, because for me, I never thought I was going to be an artist, and I never thought that my niche would be business women with mental illness. Never thought that. And now that is my absolute love. So I want to rebrand so that the potential clients see me and, you know, see all of that and go, wow, you know. So just think, even when you're starting out, don't think that might end up being the brand only. It can change.
Oh, absolutely. And there's nothing ever static about business. Business is always fluid. It's always moving. It's always changes, because we're humans, and it's our business. And so we change, it changes. We see things that attract our attention or change our way of thinking about something. We get better at doing some things. Our business changes.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
And on that beautiful note, thank you so much, Julie. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure we're going to have another chat. I can see it happening.
Oh,
anytime.
It's great fun. Like I said, I could talk about creativity and art and design and everything for hours.
Yeah,
so good fun.
Yeah, so could I. And for anyone watching this video, check out the description, because I have got all the links to find Julie. So please go and check her out. You know, go and stalk her.
Please stalk me.
I know,
you're welcome to stalk me.
It's like, please just stalk me. Like, hello. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, Julie.